Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to look at creating spline movers, so things that will move along a spline in the way that you direct at the time that you direct. Let's get into it. First thing we're going to do is create a class that will allow us to have a spline in the world. Now, I could create one from scratch, but we already have a lot of useful classes out here. I'm going to start by looking at my kinematic base. This is a class that allows me to move an object over time between a start point and end point using a lerp based off of some activation that will use a timeline that has a float value from 00 to 11. That will work as the alpha for the lerp. This seems pretty useful to us. It's not exactly what we need, but it's right in line with where we're trying to go. So I'm going to take this class, and rather than create a child from this, I'm going to duplicate this class, Control D, and we're just going to call this kinematic mover. Maybe kinematic spline might be a better word, just so we don't get confused with our content here. So with the spline setup, I'm not going to need any of these elements, the start, the transform, the end reference, and I don't need to have a mesh built into this because I'm going to be referencing meshes a little bit more robustly. So we can bring in a mesh from anywhere or an actor from anywhere to move along the spline. So we're going to have a moved actor, make this type actor, and expose that to the designer. And then over here, the set world transform, it's going to be targeting a component. We're going to change that to get the moved actor. And we're just going to say set location, the transform. You're going to be careful when moving the player transform because the rotation could actually very well affect the player's final position, their ability to interact with the world. All right, for the timeline, we're still going to stick with the unit linear curve here. But instead of using this lerp that we had before, what we're going to do is we're going to add a new component called a spline component. We're just going to leave it called spline for readability's sake. And from that spline, I'm going to get location at distance along spline. And so this is going to tell me at a certain distance, however long your spline is from 0 to 9 bajillion, you're going to find out what that location is according to where the spline is. And we're going to look at that in the world coordinate system. So in order for me to get the appropriate distance along the spline, I'm going to give myself a little bit more space here. I want to get the length of the spline. And then I'm going to use that compared to my alpha, which is a 0 to 1 linear scale. And this 0 to 1 is basically going to act as a percentage. So the percentage of the total length is going to be what I'm going to pipe into my distance here. And then this is going to get me the value or the location of the vector along the spline at wherever that is. So if I go into the world, I can place one of my kinematic spline actor, and you can see the spline object right here. There are a number of options with spline. You can generate content. The points you have over here, you have the ability to generate points on this side as well. But my favorite method is to just have the endpoint that you have selected that you want to move. You can slide that around, and if you want, you can hold Alt and create a new point. So you can move objects around. You can even grab their handles and then rotate them. So we can get this kind of curved shape. And because of the actor that I have the ability to set the duration for this. I'm just going to set the duration to 5 so we can observe this a little bit more effectively. And then we're going to change our moved actor. I'm just going to go ahead and select this cube over here. It's not in the right position to start. We can do a few things to get that over there, but that's up to you how you want to manage that. But when I go into this circle and I press the interact key, it should move this to this starting point and then move it along this spline over the course of 5 seconds. Let's give that a go. So I come over here, get my interact. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. And so if I set up a bouncing curve, one that'll come back and forth, let's just set that up over 2 seconds for expediency. That'll go up and back down. So you can put anything you want on that. If I wanted to change that curve up a little bit, I could take this curve point, put it up here. Let's raise that up a little bit. So if the player comes over here, let's modify our code a little bit. And we're gonna just by default on begin play just to demonstrate this. I'm gonna give a call to our parent functions for begin play because there's some things wrapped up in the hierarchical chain that we want to make sure we call. I'm just going to set our moved actor to the player character. So it'll move my player along the spline. So when I come over to the base of that spline over here, then it basically acts as a zip line to get me up to where I need to go. So you can move the player, you can move objects. While I use the get location at distance, there's a number of spline resources in there. Get at distance, we have get time at distance, get transform at distance, your up vector, you can get the rotation. And then, of course, if you wanted to get location, there's a few other ways to do it. Get it at spline point, tangents, things like that. So play around with it, go explore it. Hopefully this gives you an idea of what you can do with splines to get things moving around. If you wanted to with the spline, there's also the ability, if I had this and I said I wanted to, somewhere in here, there's a close spline. Let's see, close loop, there you go. So that'll loop the spline down here. So I need to disable the player set. But if I come over here and activate this one, it'll go all the way around the loop, and then I can set it to looping and it would go on a circuit. So if you wanted things like traffic or mine carts or things like that, it's a good way to play with it. And ideally this gets you the power to be able to go and apply it to your specific project, doing what you need to go out there and keep building.